Goodness. All right. All right. Good morning, YouTube. Let me adjust my camera. Smidgen. Oh, it's my hand. I was saying, how do I get my light out of my picture? But it wasn't my light, it was my hand. All right. So let's head over to Facebook. Just a little tweak over here. And Facebook is live. All right. My cameras are good, I guess. Yeah. Look at me. And it's early, and I thought for sure I was going to be late today. What do you know? Sometimes you surprise yourself. All right. Okay, go. There, so is everybody else cold? I'm freezing. Freezing. They actually turned my heat on in my house, and I don't. Maybe if you're not from Florida, you don't understand how terrible that is. Or you're not in Florida, you don't have to be from here to recognize that that's a bad thing. But it's back off again. I don't know. Hey, Diane, how nice to see you. Nice to see you. All right, so I don't know who's on YouTube. Good morning on YouTube. Good morning over on Facebook. Got more eyeballs than names, which is, I don't understand how that works. But anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Here we are. Keiko was just waving hi too. I know you can't see her, but she was. So, oh shoot, I forgot my watch, so I don't know how we are on time. I'm gonna talk for just a little second, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully, everyone will make it. Hold on. All right. Just got a weird little update on my YouTube, so I didn't know if that was something important or not. It doesn't seem to be. No, I think we're good. All right, so today's theme, I guess, so to speak, is to get some warmth, because like I say, even here in Florida, it's a little chilly. If you're, I guess south of the equator, it's not. Right? It's your summertime down there. But here it's cold, and like I say, even down where it's not normally. So the idea is to get warm. And I was also thinking last week, before my plan changed, to engage the core. So everything comes from the middle, right? Everything does. So let's get another weird notice. Okay, I don't know. So everything comes from here, right? The lower belly. And when we talk about the core, right? If you're not a yoga person, if you're just a normal everyday walking around person, you think you got to work your abs or whatever, with a million sit-ups or I don't know, all the weird things that they do at the gym. But where we're really focusing on is lower, much lower. And I talk about letting your upper belly be soft. And that doesn't mean we don't want to have muscles here. Of course we do. They help us breathe. And it would just be weird to have that be the only place you're not working. But the main focus is low. All right. So these are the important ones, right? The ones that help us stabilize our body, right? They're right with the pelvis. They help us with balance. They help us with our strength, obviously, stability when we're walking and moving and all of that. So this is really what we're talking about in yoga anyway, when we're talking about the core, right? And there's all kinds of philosophical things that relate to this area of the body as well. We won't get into them today, but if you are interested in that kind of stuff, I've got a nice little workshop over on my Anyday Yoga page, anydayyoga.com, that discusses a little bit more of the philosophy. So, and it provides classes to apply to that particular part of the idea. So you'll see if you're interested. I don't want to get too deep into it. Spend all day on that. Uh-oh. It's too cold to be outside, guys. So anyway, so yeah, that's the direction that we're going. You can obviously work harder, right? Or not so much. So make sure that you're listening to your body, listening to your breath. Like we're still going to move with our breath like we did last week. But engaging more through the middle, and I'll talk a lot about that as we get ready to get on the mat. Engaging through here to help everything else be easier and to strengthen this area of the body. It's super important. All right. So let's get going. We're gonna have a seat on the mat. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay. So grab a seat on the mat. Aligning the heels. And taking what's called inner thigh rotation. So the inner thigh down and the outer thigh out of the way so that the pelvis can be upright. So now we want to think about the pelvic floor. So imagine lifting the pelvic floor. Hang on. Sorry. I don't know why. Here. And hey, listen to me. Sorry about that. So you know how your animals get when the weather gets a little cool? That's what's going on there. So anyhow, so yes, pelvic floor, right? Lifting up. It's not actually going to lift away from the floor, forget that idea. But imagine lifting it up toward the heart. Right? The lower belly, from the belly button down, moves in and up. We say like an ice cream scoop, right? If that helps your visual. And then we want to be tall through the sides. So we're engaged through the middle, but the upper belly can be soft so you can breathe. Right? Important. Relax your shoulders, try and relax your hips. Go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a moment. And as you breathe, notice that it might be difficult to stay engaged through that lower belly. That is normal. It's fine. We work to make it better. So allowing the breath to deepen. Letting the upper belly rise and fall with the breath as that lower belly stays engaged. Finding your yoga breath wherever you're going to be able to practice with that nice full breath. Remember, that's your guide. Let's go ahead and extend the arms out to the sides here. With the next inhale, we're stretching them up. And then exhaling to release them back down. Nice big breaths. Inhaling. Exhaling. We're going to do that one more time. And on the inhale, come back to the top. Exhaling the right hand back to the mat and giving yourself a little tip to that side. So keep the pelvis rooted, the belly's engaged. Open the left shoulder back. And then inhaling, bring yourself back up to the middle. And switch, taking it over to the left. Nice big full breath here. Back up to the top, inhale. Let's go over to the right again. Maybe find a little bit deeper stretch. And then back to the top. Taking it over to the left one last time here. And then back up, inhale. Exhaling, release the arms. So instead of having the heels aligned here, go ahead and bring the soles of the feet together, drawing the heels in toward the groin. Just allow your knees to release, your spine's nice and tall here. You can use your elbows more at the inner hips or not. It's a little early, so just listen to what your body needs here. Relaxing the shoulders, imagine hinging the belly button toward the heels. Keeping the spine long, nice big breaths going on. With an inhale, we're going to hinge back up again. And then extend the legs. So legs are straight, right? Don't worry about touching your toes. If you need a little baby bend in your knees, that's fine. We're going to sit tall here, belly still engaged. Reach the arms up. And then on an exhale, hinge forward from the hip. When you can't hinge forward any further, let your hands fall. So again, you may or may not touch your toes. Don't worry about that piece. Just go nice and easy. This is the first hamstring stretch probably that you've done today, right? So just go nice and gentle. You'll get there. You'll get there. And even if you never touch your toes, don't worry about it. That, again, that's not the goal. Just warming up the body here. Big breaths, engaged belly, even here. It may not feel necessary here, but get loose, right? Just kind of relax it all in there. And see how that feels. Notice what happens with your breath. And then re-engage. Re-engage that lower belly. And notice how it's just a little bit different. Instead of hanging out, right? It feels like being present and being engaged. We're going to take one more breath. On an inhale, we're going to make our way back up again. And then release the arms. So from there, let's come around onto hands and knees. Take your time getting there. And of course, if you need cushion under your hands or your knees, certainly cushion up. You don't want to go too crazy, but we don't want to just be in pain the whole time, right? So belly is engaged here as well. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, feeling aligned. And then with the breath, on an inhale, drop the belly toward the floor. Exhaling as you round the spine toward the ceiling. And then follow the breath in and out of those two poses. Gentle. Let's take one more flow like that, in and out. And then just find a middle. From here, extend the right leg back. And we want to press through the heel. Take a peek at your toes and make sure they're rotated toward the floor. Press through the heel, activating the leg, activating the belly if it's not already, and then extending the left arm forward. Reach through the fingertips, make the arm work. So every muscle is engaged from your fingertips all the way through your toes, or at least your right toes. We're going to release that side. and then work the second side. So same idea, left leg back. Check in that the foot is flexed and your toes point down toward the floor, pressing through the heel, make it like work. When you're ready, the right arm stretches forward. Reaching away from the body. And then releasing back down again. So adding in movement this time, with the breath as controlled as you can. We're going to extend the right leg and the left arm. On an exhale, pulling the elbow and knee together in the middle, kind of like a crunch, right? Squeezing in, inhaling and reaching away. But slow and controlled with the breath, in and out. Let's go once more. Give it a good squeeze. Reach away. And then release back down. All right, second side, same idea. Left leg and right arm when you are ready with your breath. Exhaling as you pull together, squeeze in. Inhale, extend out. In and out. One more. Reaching away and releasing back to the mat. So again here, right leg and left arm extending away from the body. This time, bend your right knee and let the hand find the foot back there. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Don't worry about it. Work with your balance. Maybe you can lift the toes a little higher or draw the shoulder back a bit. Make sure you're breathing here. Your belly's still engaged to protect your back. Extending out long, stretch it. And then release, hand and knee back to the mat. All right, so the same idea on your second side here. Extending left leg and the right arm. Bending at the knee, finding the foot here. Let's go ahead and release it, stretch out, and bring the hand and knee back to the mat. So then nice and easy, go ahead and sit yourself back, taking child's pose. And just releasing into the mat here for a moment. Letting your belly go for a sec. Just check in with everyone. And then re-engage the belly and bring yourself back up onto all fours. So here we're going to take the left hand, bring it underneath the right arm here. So between the knee and wrist, you can drop down to your elbow, right? Or you can continue to reach over and drop down to your shoulder. You decide, it's a little early, it's the first twist, so find where it is, right? And if it makes you kind of lean all off to the left, forget it and just stay on your elbow rather than reaching your shoulder to the floor. We want to make sure the head is comfortable, right? So if you're on your elbow, you're just hanging out in space, right? But if you're down on your shoulder, you want to make sure you're not leaning on your head. So the weight is on the arm rather than on your head. And wherever you are, you can use the floor to press against to wind around into a deeper twist if you're ready for that. Again, it's very early. You listen to your body and do what you need to do here. So big breaths. If you release your belly, do you feel a little bit of a a shift. You have to work a little harder to hold yourself here because there is a bit of balance even here, right? You feeling that? So make sure you keep the belly engaged. You can lift the right arm up toward the ceiling if you like. We're going to step the toes back and lift the right toes away from the floor. So with the belly engaged, this is much easier. And you can still breathe here, right? Your head and neck are comfortable. You've got a nice little twist going on. Take another big breath. And then we're going to release that, coming back down all fours. So lots of options, lots of places to be. Let's go ahead and take the right hand then, weaving it under. And again, here you decide. Maybe you hang out on the elbow for a little bit and then you drop down, or you don't, right? You go right down, or you need to stay on the forearm. So using the floor more or less. Head and neck are comfortable. You're breathing here. And then wherever you are, make sure you're feeling stable. Keep the belly working for you. And again, maybe the left arm reaches. Maybe you just lift your toes away from the floor. Add in the pieces, making sure you're breathing, making sure your belly's working. And then we're going to release that, coming back into all fours again. So take your time. Let's go ahead and sit back into our child's pose. And for the most part, the body gets to rest, but imagine kind of just sinking into your hips, taking them toward the back of your mat or down, your belly down toward the floor, just kind of letting it release into the mat. We're going to work with our arms a little bit. So let's extend the arms as far away from the body as they can get, reaching forward, roughly shoulder width apart, but don't get too hung up on that. Your head is either resting on the floor or maybe on a block. Releasing the neck and shoulders. And then come up on your finger pads if you're not already. Pull your shoulders together on your back a bit. So we're kind of lifting up through the armpits. And now that sounds weird, but you'll get the idea. And then with that, see if you can actually inch your fingertips a little bit further away than you thought you could initially. Keeping that stretch. Keeping the hands roughly shoulder width apart and the head in the middle of the mat. Try not to move the upper body. Just the arms are going to start to walk to the right. And maybe you have the flexibility where this left arm comes behind your head that's resting on the floor. Releasing that, walk back through the center. Keep stretching away from the body and walk the hands left. Head stays in the middle. Come on back to center. Grounding the four corners of the hands again then. Keep that idea of that stretch, the lifting of the armpits here. We're going to lift ourselves up and come to down dog. So allowing yourself to just kind of wiggle and stretch with it. Shifting through the hips, shifting through the shoulders. Make sure the belly stays engaged, right? So a lot of times we put so much pressure on the arms that they get really tired very easily. But if you stay engaged through your middle, it will be less terrible, right? And sometimes that's as good as we can ask for it, right? So letting yourself wiggle and stretch a little bit into it. And then we're going to settle on in. So pressing the chest back, sinking the heels. Looking for neutral shoulders, just letting your head hang here. So with the breath then, On an inhale, shift forward and come to plank. Make sure the belly's still engaged so you don't get saggy and droopy in the middle. No saggy, right? And then exhale, take yourself back to down dog. Inhale, shift forward, plank. So of course, you can absolutely be down on your knees for this, more like kneeling plank into child's pose. Or maybe a little of this and a little of that. Okay? But making sure the belly stays pulled in, protecting the back and strengthening the core. This feels a lot like arms, but trust me, there's a lot going on everywhere else. We're gonna go one more time like that, forward and back. And then go ahead and drop on down to the knees and take a little break in child's pose. So if you're feeling your wrists overly, right, I mean, obviously they're engaged, you're going to feel them. You want to make sure that the base of the index finger is pressing into the floor as much as the outer wrist. We tend to dump the weight in the wrist and that makes your wrist unhappy. And even when you're doing it properly, until you're used to it, until your arms are strong enough, they get tired, right? So let's look back to our down dog. Take a quick shift forward into plank. We're not gonna be here for long and we're not holding back and or moving back and forth, but we do wanna make sure the hands and feet are far enough apart to make the next piece work. So once you have that, lift the hips back to down dog. And we're gonna step the right foot roughly halfway to the hands. You can adjust that as you go. Turn those toes out to the right. So this right foot can be flat to the floor and the knees pointing to the side. We roll to the outside edge of the left foot. Keep that foot flexed. And we're in our modified side plank here. So the right hand can stay on the hip or extend toward the ceiling, whatever makes you happy. But make sure the belly's working for you here. Otherwise, it's this puny little arm doing all the work. We want to use everything at our disposal. So let's release that. Step back to down dog. And then move to the second side. So that left foot, again, roughly halfway up to the hands. The toes point to the left. We roll to the outside of the right foot. Make sure that right heel comes all the way to the floor. So the right side of your body essentially looks as if you're standing up. Right? Big breaths. And then we're going to release that back to down dog. Go ahead and drop on down to the knees. Take a little break in child's pose. And then back into down dog. Remember, if you need a longer break or you need a break sooner than I'm cueing, feel free to do that. So this time here, instead of stepping halfway to the hands, we're going to step the right foot all the way to the outside of the right wrist-ish, right? You might not make it quite there, don't worry about it. And then step back. So do that again and notice where exactly your foot falls. And if you feel like you're landing like an elephant, right? Plop down the mat. So step back to down dog. Really focus in on keeping the belly in and staying aware of your breath. Intentionally step the right foot to the outside of the right hand as gracefully and softly as you can. Step back, down dog. So go ahead and drop down to the knees for just a second. And you can sit back or stand on all fours. The idea is to use the belly to get the foot where you want it to go. And until the brain sort of gets it, sometimes it's a mess. right? But we're moving toward using all of those muscles to do precisely what we want to do, what we meant to do, right? So let's move back to down dog and step the left foot to the outside of the right wrist, left wrist, sorry. That'd be like totally twister, right? Back to down dog. And sometimes the foot kind of slides up and back, and ideally, again, we're working to step precisely where we want to, and then step precisely back. Give it a go one more time. And then allow yourself to drop back down, taking that little break. Especially if the wrists are getting tired of it, right? Sometimes it's the shoulders. So again, always just listening to what your body needs to do, maybe cushioning your hands at this point if that's where you're at. So then let's go ahead and lift back to down dog. And we're going to step the right foot between the hands. So our plain old traditional lunge. And after a bunch of those on the outside, maybe your foot got a little bit closer to where you need it to fall the first time. Go ahead and drop the left knee. If your toes are not all the way to the top of your mat, just adjust until they are. You've got knee ankle alignment, right? Let's go ahead and take the right leg straight, or straight-ish. Remember, you can prop up on a block here, right? If you need to, or two, or your shin or your thigh, even if that's where you are. And then bend back into the knee. So allowing your hips to descend, lengthening out through the crown of your head here. You can absolutely leave your hands on the floor. Right? If you're really hanging on your hands or you're leaning on your blocks very heavily with your arms, then maybe they stay. Maybe you don't really need your hands. Sweep your legs toward each other, make sure your belly is engaged, and take the arms kind of down the sides of your body, right? Hugging into your hips and waist here. So essentially you're just going no hands. And if that's not terrible, maybe take the arms out to the sides, adding a little bit of body weight, keeping the shoulders neutral on the back, keeping your belly pulled in so your pelvis is square and stable. And if that's like, you could sleep here, take the arms alongside the ears. So a straight line, essentially, roughly, from your fingertips through that left knee. Belly's doing a great deal of the work, yes? Let's release one. Release that. Lifting the back knee, back to down dog. So let's go second side, stepping the left foot forward. Drop the right knee, adjust the toes to the top of the mat. Take your time getting set up, right? That's the important piece. And then we'll take the left leg straight. Keeping the pelvis square, shoulders back. So again, rather than rounding or bending toward the floor, prop up a little bit, right? Find alignment. And then bend back into the knee. Allowing the hips to descend. But if you just kind of droop, right, you get all off center and your belly's not working anymore, and it might feel like your belly's kind of drooping. Don't want the belly drooping. So sweeping the legs toward each other, engaging that lower belly, and then you decide what to add. So maybe just the arms out by the sides, maybe out to the sides, or maybe stretching alongside the ears. Breathe. What is your breath telling you? How hard do you need to work to engage the belly enough that you can still breathe, but you can still breathe? Let's release it. Stepping back into your down dog. And then from this down dog, stepping forward, kind of standing fold. Intentionally placing the feet up underneath the hip bones, making sure your toes point forward. So we want to have the legs straight here. And if that means you don't touch the floor, you don't touch the floor, and it's not going to matter in a second anyway. We want to be really engaged into the four corners of the feet. Make sure the belly is working. Take the hands and slide them to your thighs. And then come halfway up. So you might be here already, right? Roughly parallel to the floor. If you're a little more or a little less, don't panic. But the belly's working like crazy. If you feel like you need to be leaning with your hands on your thighs to make this happen, lean away, right? The shoulders stay back, the hips are over the ankles, yes? And if you need to lean, you lean. Otherwise, we're gonna see if we can engage the arms like we did before. So maybe down by your sides, just handsless, right? No hands. Maybe out off the shoulders. Maybe the arms extend alongside the ears. Don't drop your head just so you can stretch your arms out, right? Try not to bend your knees or shift your hips back. If you feel like you have to make those adjustments, take the arms back a bit, right? Keeping the integrity of the pose, keeping your core working, breathing, and then bend into the knees and sit into chair. So hanging out on the thighs, you can come center. You can still be extended if you like. Extending up alongside the ears maybe. With an inhale, stretch to the ceiling. And then exhale to release it all. All right, so here we go. We're gonna move in through some sun salutes. A little far forward. Remember to keep the belly engaged so that even as you flow between poses, you're protected, right? Your lower back stays happy. You're stronger in and out of these things. Take your time. So with an inhale, let's stretch the arms up. Exhale, take yourself into a fold. On an inhale, come halfway up. And then exhaling, step yourself back to plank. Take the knees here, of course, if you'd like. Drop on down to the belly. And then just a nice easy little shoulder roll. Tiny little baby cobra. Releasing that, everything up and off the floor together, down dog. Inhaling, step forward, fold. Halfway up. And then back over. Inhaling to the ceiling. Exhaling and release. So like that again, follow your breath, add in a little bit more or less. Inhaling as you lift. Exhale over into fold. Halfway up with an inhale. Back into plank. Taking it all the way down, that same exhalation, knees if you need knees, of course. Inhales, you roll your shoulders. You can pull, maybe press into a little bit deeper cobra. Releasing that, up and back together, down dog. Stepping forward, fold. Halfway up. Fold over again. Reaching to the ceiling. Exhale and release. So we've got one more, and we're gonna add in with that one. Remember, take your time, work with your breath, keep your belly engaged. Inhale into a chair, and then exhale into your fold. Halfway up. Back to your plank, dropping down. Rolling into cobra, and back to down dog. Stepping forward with the right foot into your lunge. Toes all the way up there. Knee or heel to the mat, we're lifting the upper body. Exhaling back down into down dog. Inhale forward to plank. Exhaling down. Inhaling for your cobra. And then back to down dog. Left foot stepping forward this time. Get your toes all the way up there and lift. Back down again and into down dog. Last one like this, shifting forward for plank. Taking it to the belly. Inhaling for your cobra. And then releasing back to down dog. Holding in your down dog or dropping down into child's pose. Big, smooth, easy breaths. Everybody good? One more breath where you are. If you did drop down, go ahead and lift on up for your down dog. And then stepping forward into standing fold. Halfway up on an inhale. Exhale over again. Inhaling as you sit into chair. And then exhale to release it all. All right, so let's go ahead and take a short step back with the right foot. And we're gonna work into warrior one here. All 10 toes point forward. The back toes like to be out. That's just a very natural place for us. But then the hips are, I don't know, facing off into this no man's land, right? We want them to face the top of the mat. So the back heel needs to be rooted. Maybe that means your stance is a little shorter. See what happens. Four corners of the feet, hips are nice and square here, belly's working. We're gonna extend the arms, reaching toward the ceiling. Arms in line with the ears here, shoulders are down and back. And maybe that means your hands have to be a little more open, right? If you bring them together and they squeeze your ears, let the arms be more open. From here, we're gonna work our way into warrior three. And if it's you, you can absolutely leave your arms extended here. But maybe bring them to the hips or even hang on to the thigh. Belly's working like crazy. This is where it comes from. We're gonna lean all the way into the left foot and lift the right foot up off the mat. So ideally, we're going hips square, the right leg straight, the toes are pointing down toward the floor. Hanging on like crazy. Flying the arms down by your sides, maybe out, maybe forward. Listen to your body. If you cannot breathe in it, it's too hard. Is your belly doing the work? Or where are you defaulting to? Ideally, it's here. Release the fingertips to the floor and step way back into lunge. Sweep the legs together, finding that stability, keeping the belly pulled in like crazy. Let's take the left leg straight. So deeper into the hamstring. You can leave the toes on the floor. You can lift the foot away from the floor. Any little extras that you might need here since we've been here a time or two. Let's go ahead and twist. So bring the left hand to the hip. If you're feeling less than stable, try engaging your belly. If it's still too much, maybe drop down to the right knee. So the left hand's at the hip. We're rotating the belly around toward the left. Making our way into our twist. Another big breath. And then let's release the twist. Little cushion bend into the knee here so we can step forward into our fold. Bring the hands to the thighs, press halfway up. So again, that parallel to the floor place, adding the arms, right? We aren't holding maybe quite as long this time. Sitting into a chair. And then reaching up and releasing it. So let's go. You know where we're going now. Step the left foot back. That short step. All four corners. 8 corners. 4 corners of both feet into the floor. Hips are square. Belly's working. Arms reach. And then you decide here, making your way to warrior 3. So whether you're hanging on, arms down, arms out, set the balance. Pull the belly in, square the hips, and then the arms add if the arms still need to. Maybe you just get here and you realize, I need the hands on the floor, right? Release the fingertips and step way back for lunge on this side. When you have the proper stance for you, take that right leg straight. Adding in a little or a lot if you need more or less. And then finding enough stability that you can add the twist in. So the right hand's coming to the hip and we're rotating around. Releasing the twist. Go ahead and bend back into the knee. We're going to step back into down dog here. Give yourself a second to wiggle and stretch, maybe realign. And then drop on down and take child's pose. From child's pose, let's shift forward, come into kneeling plank. You can be in a full plank if you want, but it's going to be challenging, so you decide. Keeping the shoulders neutral on the back. Again, the belly engaged, head in line with the spine. Try not to let your head droop. And then bend the elbows just enough to bring them in line with the ribs and then stop. Hover here. Check in with your shoulders. Are they still neutral on your back? How do your hands feel? Even weight? What is your belly doing? Drop on down. And we're going to work with Locust here. So, making sure that the tailbone stays pointing toward the heels. You don't want to feel any pinching in the lower back, obviously. Okay. We're going to work with just the upper body. So for today, the feet stay on the floor. So press down into your feet, press down into your pelvis. We're going to start with the arms down by the sides. So kind of like we did earlier. You can interlace the fingers here if you feel like it. We're going to roll our shoulders up by the ears together on the back, down toward the hip bones, so kind of like your handless cobra. And you don't get to use the arms. Stretch the fingertips back toward the heels, giving a little extra lift if that's you. Making sure the belly is working, but the upper belly is soft, so you can breathe still. Important. And then release. So of course, if that was enough work, that's the variation you're gonna stick with. But let's see. Take the hands and make a little pillow for your head. And then rest your forehead on the pillow. So now your forehead is glued to the pillow. Your head cannot lift unless your hands do too. Right? So press down into your feet, press down into the pelvis. Do the exact same thing with your shoulders. So roll them up, together, and down toward the hip bones. And again, if your head lifts here, your hands have to come too. The elbows are wide, so it's more work, right? More body weight. Can you breathe? Let's release it, come on back down. So you have one more option. If that was good, you stay there. If it was too much, you drop the arms back down by the sides. But maybe the arms extend forward. And so here, the arms are going to be alongside the ears. Mine aren't right now because I'm talking to you. But if your head lifts, your arms have to come too. It's a lot of extra body weight. So press down into the tops of your feet, press down into your pelvis, the shoulders roll, and the chest lifts. Maybe not as high as before. If it's too much, you find what works. Find where you can breathe. Listen to your body. Take one more breath. And then release. If you don't already, have a little pillow for your hands, pillow for your head, and your forehead or a cheek to the pillow, whatever, just rest your head. Turn your toes to point toward each other back there, and then just gently shift your hips side to side. Shake out your back. Allowing yourself to come center. And then the hands next to the side ribs here. So working to keep the shoulders neutral on the back, the belly engaged. Press enough into your knees that you can almost lift your pelvis up off the floor. Don't actually lift your butt. Just keep it in line and engage the muscles. And then press into the hands enough that you can bring your elbows in line with your ribs. Stop and hover in that place. All the way up. And gently back to your child's pose. Take a couple of nice big breaths here. And we're going to transition to down dog. Hot that later. So let's go ahead and shift ourselves forward into our plank again. Making sure your hands and feet are far enough apart. Lift the hips. And step the right foot halfway to the hands, just like we did earlier. Turning the toes out to the side, rolling to the outside edge of your left foot. So we're back in this modified side plank. If you've just had enough, the left knee can be on the floor, or you can hold here. Make sure your belly's working. Stack your shoulders, stack your hips. Can you lean less into the right foot? If you've got your chest and shoulders coming forward, it's never going to pick up off the floor. But if you're in alignment, or your dog helps, you can actually lift this right foot up off the floor, even if it's for a millisecond. Release that, come back to down dog. Let's shift sides here. Bringing the left foot forward. Turn the toes out, roll to the outside of your right foot. Decide if you need modifications. Make sure your belly is working. Leaning less into the left foot. And maybe leaning less enough that you can lift it up off. Hold it out there, up and down a million times, whatever works. And then back to your down dog. Dropping down, take a child pose. And then dropping down to the knees, sitting up. We'll bring the legs around front. Just gonna work a couple more things, but I'm running out of time. Happens all the time. All right, so sitting well here, extending the legs out long, making sure that lower belly is engaged. So we're gonna take the arms alongside the ears, like we've done. And right here, we're a straight line from the fingertips through the hips. Yes. Making yourself a straight line. So even if you had to be propped up on a block maybe, right, try and get that nice straight line. And then coming forward, hinge from your hips, keep the straight line, keep the straight line, keep the straight line, and you'll find where you can tip to, right? So you're not gonna be touching your toes unless your face is laying on your shin, so don't worry about that. Arms alongside the ears, shoulders are down and back. You guys are too much. Too much. You're breathing, right? I haven't forgotten. Let's hinge back up again and release the arms. So taking the feet to the floor, flat to the floor. If you need to scoot forward on your mat, certainly do. Hanging onto your hamstrings here. So one last really lower belly intense place. Let's lift the chest. Hang on if you need to hang on, maybe not. You can leave your toes down, up off the floor, parallel to the floor, or straight. If your legs are straight, your toes are high, so you're using your belly, not your back. Are you breathing? Soles of the feet together again, hanging onto the ankles. Hold balance in here. And then go ahead and C-curve through your spine. Roll on down to your back. Soles of the feet are going to stay together. We'll drop them to the floor and just rest the knees to the sides. Release your hips. Release the lower belly here. We'll bring the knees back together. And then draw the knees into the chest and rock. Let's open the arms out into a T position and take whatever variation of twist you want. So you can lead the knees in closer to the chest. You can take the feet to the floor. You can pick up your hips and shift them. Whatever appeals to you most right now. We're going to drop the legs over to the right. Taking just a couple more breaths on this side. And then make your way back to the middle and drop the legs over to the left. So whatever variation you did on the first side, try and do the same on the second side. Whether it's exactly the same or not, don't worry about too much. Taking just a couple more breaths on this side. And then we'll make our way back to center again. Bringing the knees back to the chest if they're not already, and allowing yourself to rock, just kind of shake it out. And then we'll squeeze the knees in good and tight. Pulling your forehead towards your knees, round through your spine. And then release, taking a full body stretch. Fingertips to toes. And then release it. Bringing the arms back down by your sides. Take a moment to get comfortable, feeling aligned. And then release the muscles into the mat. Releasing control of the breath, try to keep your focus there. And just spend the next few minutes watching yourself breathe. Try not to change it or judge it, just watch. Keeping the mind present, quiet. Just allowing yourself a few minutes to simply rest. Slowly draw in a deep cleansing breath. And then let it go. Gradually beginning to wiggle, move, and stretch. Keeping your eyes closed and the mind quiet. Gently and slowly make your way up to seated. Bringing the palms to touch, bowing to the light within. Namaste. Hopefully you got a little bit of shavasana there without this distraction. But this is the way life is sometimes, isn't it? Nothing is ever perfect and goes exactly as planned, right? There's always these weird little things that just happen. So roll with it, right? try and stay warm, you guys. I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy the football games if you're still interested in the teams that are playing. I'm not anymore. But have a great weekend anyway. Love you guys. Miss you. I hope to see you all very soon. Bye. Thanks, Cheryl.